categorically different than the AIDS that characterizes the Western world. The AIDS that characterizes the third world tends to be an AIDS virus that is carried by a venereal disease, so that the crossover to the heterosexual population is much larger than it is in the West. In the West, it is very, very, very small. At this stage, any evidence of a crossover, most of the AIDS in the West has been carried through the medium of blood. And it is blood produced through homosexuality, or is blood that is produced through the utilization of common hypodermic needles of drug addicts. And you can trace 99% of all the AIDS cases in the United States to that source. In Africa, it appears to be a different AIDS virus, and the results are different. I went to several countries in Africa that I was told would be wiped out. One country in particular, I was told that guaranteed 50% of the military forces have AIDS. So I went to the undertakers, the funeral establishments, to get the statistics on deaths, because I want to find out where are the results. It does not appear. I'm not for the AIDS program that even exists in Africa. I'm for eliminating AIDS, period. But I'm saying the evidence to date does not confirm these pessimistic views. And in my view, some of the scare tactics have been purposefully used by homosexual political groups in America to get funding to cure problems that they have encountered. And rather than, if they were just to come out and say we're homosexuals and we have problems that need attention and we need money, a lot of people wouldn't give the money for them. The research of millions of dollars, they say, just for homosexuals, it would be difficult politically to get the United States Congress to get very enthusiastic. But if you could say there's a world crisis and the world of, and even the Africans are going to be wiped out, that's my view. Now, I am aware of a test which can make my view confirmed or disconfirmed fairly easily. An African American, as a matter of fact, has developed an AIDS test. 3 minutes. 3 minutes and 30 seconds, it will tell you whether you have AIDS or you do not have AIDS. It is a breakthrough in testing in AIDS in the world. An African American who is a PhD and a physician, very, very bright brother, who has developed this test. The company is called VTech. His test is going to be distributed around the world. So he will be able to go in and tell whether these are manipulative falsehoods that are being spread or not. Because in the first instance, we'll be able to quantify the extent of the problem. In the second instance, we'll be able to track the results to determine whether fatalities arise from the type of AIDS virus that characterizes Africa. Let me again reemphasize my point. My point is, I don't want any AIDS in Africa at all. I don't want any heart trouble. I don't want any ulcers. I don't want any medical problems. And I think you will find out that most of the medical problems in Africa are traceable to nicotine and alcohol or tobacco. So what a group of African Americans have done in the United States is they have discovered about 30 different uses of tobacco other than smoking. They have determined how to take the nicotine out of tobacco and then utilize this new product for protein, for food products, because they knew the vested interests commercially would not permit large numbers of multinationals from countenancing elimination of tobacco. So they came up with an alternative, and I'm saying this is the challenge of the Muslim. The challenge is to look at the world, to look at how to use brain power to develop breakthroughs. This is what made Islamic empires great in the past, because we followed the first commandment, Iqra, the first word. read. Igra, read. Keep reading. It's repeated because of the importance. We must take up that challenge. We can't just sit around and talk about African history and Islamic history all day long. It's wonderful, it's encouraging. It cannot be the termination of your obligation. It's a start. Start the day. But throughout the day, we must become involved with computer research. Communication. Do you know they have satellites now called mapping satellites? That I can take the data from the satellite in the air, and I can sit in my room at a desk and tell you, drive 5 miles this way and 3 miles this way, dig your well, you have oil there, you have water there. A group of Muslims in America are this very day utilizing a mapping satellite to examine where the water resources are in the Sahel region of Africa. You read about what we did in Egypt, where we pinpointed where the well should be drilled in the desert. Water was obtained in a 200,000 square mile area. The estimation is that the water will last for approximately 200 years. Now this is new technology. We cannot get this technology by saying to Allah, there's water there, you made the water, you created the water, you find the water, you give the water, you distribute the water, and you provide us with happiness. Allah said, I have given you the best that I could. I gave you a mind superior to any of the animal kingdom. Now I want you to use the mind to show your respect for what I have done. We say, Allah, you gave us a mind, but we don't want it. What we want to do is give it back to you, and you use your mind and the mind you gave us, and you solve all of our problems because we don't want to work. This is a slave mentality that was developed by those who taught the African people to wait until they die and go to heaven before they do anything. They told you don't have to read because when you get to heaven, Jesus will teach you everything. You have free meals, room and board, you have palatial homes, you don't have to do any work at all. These were the dreams that destroyed our initiative. So the day we find ourselves struggling to get the drive, we feel uneasy. If I say, look, go out there, get this done, sometimes I raise my voice because I'm excited. Get this, we have this appointment, and we say, I don't want to. You give me too many things. Why? Because we have been brainwashed to believe that we shouldn't be doing it. And the mind is an amazing thing. It takes in all of the brainwashing and it starts programming you like a computer. We have to put in a new software program, and it's all in the Quran, to get over those silly, decadent, because the same people that taught you to do that, they didn't teach their children to do that. They taught their children, you go to school, and you learn the computer, and you learn everything you can about these mapping satellites, and you learn about gold, and the distribution of gold, and the mining of gold. That in the name of Jesus. But then when they came to you, they said, oh, poor African, poor Asian. They'll never learn. They're backward, they're lazy, they've been cursed by God even. So for them, we have to find it. Just be nice, you know, don't give them too much, just be nice. Don't strain yourself. We take this in, and it becomes a part of our outlook. Even though we're praying 5 times a day, even though we're observing Ramadan, if the software program isn't there, you're creating layers of ceremony over the basic elements of decadence. You have to go in and put in the new, and then put the Ramadan and put all of these features to keep the program moving with energy. All right, I'm saying again to you that I am an expert in very few things, but I am an expert in satellite technology. I know how the satellites are launched. I am a chairman of the largest consortium of companies that are involved in satellite technology in the world. And I want to share with South Africa and the schools of engineers and the technicians and the bankers how South Africa can make a leap. Don't duplicate all the things the West has done. We can't afford it. It's too costly. We have to make a big leap from 1990 into the 21st century. We must use the satellite, but people here must study the applications so that the utilization is as widespread as possible. Now, Wednesday night, I will not be able to go into any detail of satellite mapping. One, my topic is too broad and my time is too short. Secondly, some of you, not in this room, I'm talking about others, will say the reason this brother came here is just for business. And he tried to trick Brother Dedar, and he just wanted to come out and tell you, my friends, if I want to come only for business, I know where to come and I know how to come. And going and giving public lectures is not the way to conduct business. I know how to do it. I am here because I want to contribute my experiences. Many of you don't know me. I understand you will be suspicious. I anticipated it. You will say, I wonder, he sounds all right, but we have heard others that sound even better, and they turn out to be fraudulent. This is natural. You don't have to treat me as a stranger. Ask whatever you want. That's the only way to get over any hang-ups. He's saying, yeah, but he represented O.P.E.C. He's probably one of those capitalists. Ask whatever you want. I commit to you, I will try my best to give you what in my heart is an honest answer based on logic. I am not going to appeal to your emotions. I'm not going to say to you, just be happy. I'm not going to just quote phrases because they may appeal to you. I'm going to tell you what and how Allah commanded the prophets. Lift up your voice like a trumpet and tell my people their transgressions. You do not need me to come here to flatter you. I am coming here to try to contribute. It's going to make some uneasy, some things you haven't heard for a long time, but in the back of your mind you know it's true. In the back of your mind you know it's just. In the back of your mind you know it is consistent with Allah. But through the years we have gotten a little bit away. I want to go back to the old foundation. I want Islam as it was demonstrated and taught by the Prophet, peace be upon him. That's what I want. And I want you to help me, and I'm here to help you. I want to help the Christians, I want to help the politicians, I want to help everyone I can. I only have 2 weeks, so you have to use me as extensively as you can. Tell your friends, get on the phone, bring them out, stop me in the street, do whatever you can. I'm here as your servant at your disposal. I'm telling the media, you tell them that Dr. Khalid Al-Mansour has come to the homecoming. I'm home. And I want to make a contribution on the part of 40 million African Americans who would like to share whatever we have learned to make a better and prospering South Africa. Are there any other questions?
Just one question.
Yes, sir.
You said earlier that you would like to see 2 million jobs be created.
Yes.
Could you say whether sanctions was worth the trouble and how it has destroyed the economy and the loss of jobs?
Well, I can simply quote the head of the Reserve Bank. I mean, there's no secret that sanctions has deprived the country of liquidity. This is a fact. Politically, statements have been made that we don't care about sanctions and sanctions won't disturb us. But the man who sees the money and counts the debits and credits said it hurts. And we need relief. Mr. de Klerk went to see Mrs. Thatcher not because sanctions were not working, He wants relief. He wants to demonstrate that the approach and the path that he is pursuing will convince the world that South Africa is changing. So I don't think that the efficacious effect of the sanctions is open to dispute. If there's no liquidity and the economy contracts, there's going to be unemployment. This is just simple.
In relation to freedom that it perhaps may have achieved for people?
Well, I think the process of freedom, again, is going to be defined in many different ways. And freedom is a process, not a product. So one has to ask, what was the purpose of the sanctions? Was it designed to produce an environment whereby an orderly negotiation can take place to correct and remedy past economic, political injustices? I don't think there's any question in anyone's mind that the sanctions has accomplished that goal. Have people made sacrifice in the process of the realization of that dialogue? Absolutely. What will be the outcome of that process in ultimate terms? Much of that will depend upon us and the plan that we implement. It is not going to be dependent upon vague notions of freedom. The masses of people are going to translate freedom into employment, education, health care, pride and dignity, ability to worship the God they choose, to select their culture. That's what freedom means to the masses. I am saying now we are at an area of life, to me, is a crossroads. If mistakes are made, there could be in South Africa a wholesale bloodbath. And if that occurs, if you think the sanctions were effective before there will need any sanctions, this country will not get a dime from abroad. They have alternatives. No one needs South Africa. So they can put their money in Germany, they can put their money in Japan, they can put their money in China. Why come here? If there is a bloodbath, South Africa will go back 100 years at least, economically, because no one, and not only South Africa, but all of Africa, will be penalized. Now that does not mean that bloodbaths are rational activity. People don't sit down and say, let's have a bloodbath. A process unfolds, and egos get involved. And people respond to their ego. You said this about me, who do you think you are? You're trying to reinstitute the past of apartheid. And the other said, don't talk to me like that. It wasn't long ago I used to call you a cougher. This is nonsense. It is counterproductive. It is the highest form of ignorance, and it will destroy us all. It will destroy us all. So what then is the answer? The answer is, what is your plan, not what is your rhetoric, not what is your poetry. What is your plan for 2 million jobs? Christians, what will you do to produce 2 million jobs? Communists, show me. How long will it take them? Muslims, stop all the talk, 2 million. And then I will go out and tell my people, 2 million are coming, 2 million jobs, this is what you have to do to be ready. These are not gifts, it's not charity. This is working, and that's what we love. Again, you must excuse me for quoting one of my old-time friends, James Brown. But he wrote and sang a song. I don't want anyone, he said no one, to give me nothing. Open up the door, and I will get it myself. I have studied very carefully the rise of Japan economically. And each step that was made by the government and the private sector, and I think there is much to learn from what the Japanese did against all odds. These are programs. I'm suggesting that whether it's de Klerk, Nelson Mandela, whoever it is, Chief Buthelezi, let's talk programs. that we can predict where our people will be in 1 year, in 2 years, economically. Let's not talk about who will be president. This is for children. The titles, they don't mean anything. Let's talk about the people. That's why I'm here. We in America made the mistake. We started running after titles. I know what it's like. I know how tempting it is. It's nice to have someone say, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, come here. It's a good feeling. It's for children. Allah will not judge us by the title. He will give us a title. That is, my righteous servant, or go to hell. That will be the title. The people will give us a title. Either that we have served them. We may fool them for a little while. We will never fool them forever. The people are much more intelligent. The masses, the people in the village, these old people that have been around, as the people say, they know wisdom. They hear speeches come and go, but they know wisdom. Let us stop, I beg and plead, the nonsense. The task is too great. We're not seeing who has the best vocabulary. We're not saying who has the best clothes. We're not saying who has the largest car. We're saying, what are we going to do for the people, and what is the program? To tell me you love the people, I want to see the program. Faith without works is dead. I want to know, are you going to get there? You may have good objectives. Are you going to get there? The only way I can find out as a banker is to say, bring me your business plan. You say, I want $2 million. I will build a mosque. It will help so many people. Bring me the business plan. Show me each step, how you're going to do it, how many people it will take, how much money will it take, in quarter number 1, in quarter number 2, how will you motivate? That is business. And that's the reason I'm persuaded that in the Quran you hear the reaffirmation of business, pursue business, because as a businessman you think in terms of a comprehensive, systematic picture. The last thing I'm going to say, and I'm not going to answer any more questions now, but Wednesday I'm going to this one brother, all right, I won't forget you. I'm going to answer everything. Let me say to you, my friends, seriously and objectively, everyone in the world has friends and enemies, and I certainly have friends and enemies. A lot of my enemies were created because I haven't learned the art of diplomacy. You should get some facility with diplomacy. It comes in handy. But I like to just say what I think. If I hold it in and mix it in a way that you don't even understand what I'm saying because I confused it, and then I say, well, I've discharged my responsibility, that hurts me inside. It's difficult for me to sleep. So I just like to tell it. I don't think you're doing this, and I welcome criticism at the same time. So I would like to make a statement to you that's not designed to make friends or enemies. It's designed to share with you my honest feeling. I'm here at home in Africa, talking to the trees and the land and all of my ancestors. We are reverberating and recycling feelings of joy. And I am the guest of the Islamic Propagation Center. They invited me. And it grew out of a impromptu speech that I gave the last time I was home. It was not planned. It was not planned by me, at least, that Brother Didart would be here or he would even give the approval, but it happened. And many of my friends in the United States and other places in the world have seen that video, and they were happy. Not for me, but they were happy for the message. And when I was contacted by Brother Didart asking, would you be willing to come back to South Africa, I said, yes. However, I would like to get some guidelines. Who am I going to talk to? When am I going to talk to? And I want you to know that in my life, and I have spoken in Asia, I have spoken in Africa, I have spoken in Latin America, I have spoken in America, I have spoken all over. I'm a businessman, but I try to take a certain amount of my time to do dawah. I have never had a tour as efficiently organized as this. I have a folder in San Francisco and in London where this organization has continued to provide me with everything I needed. If I had a question, I just send it that evening or the next morning, the response would be there. Now, I mention this not to try to compliment Brother Didart and his organization, although they are entitled to be complimented for the works that they have done. I mention it because unless we as Muslims develop an appreciation for efficiency and management and time management, we are going to find ourselves at the bottom of the heap pile, blaming everyone but ourselves. As an example, I have a speech to give in Chicago after I leave here. Until now, I do not know where the speech will be given. I do not know what time the speech will be given. And I have committed to give the speech for the Muslim brothers. They tell me this is the biggest event they have in Chicago once a year. I don't have any idea how to plan. I don't want to go to a speech and just start talking out of the sky. I want to know who's going to be there. How can I give something meaningful? I have to prepare. I have to read. This organization has given me everything. So if you are disappointed in my presence here, do not blame these people. They have done an incredible job. You blame the speaker. I've let you down. And I didn't read enough. And I didn't prepare myself properly. Blame me. But I have never been so excited in my life. They're tired of hearing it. I just got here yesterday and I keep telling them all the time, they're becoming suspicious now. What does he want? He keeps saying this, but now when will he get to what he really wants? I want the methodology, the commitment, the enthusiasm, and the expertise embodied in merchandising that this group has epitomized to be spread throughout the Islamic world. We need it in China, we need it in Russia, we need it in Asia, we need it in America, we need it all over. That's the missing link. We have the sincerity, we have the knowledge, we can recite the Quran. What we lack is what the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught us: efficiency, thoroughness, stick to it, and victory. Whether it's a military encounter, he was the director. Whether it was teaching, giving the example of building a mosque, whether it was giving instruction, he embodied doing it the right way. No excuses. Taking that challenge and delivering. I want you to know that I will be talking about this methodological experience everywhere I go. I have an invitation to China, I have an invitation to Russia to speak to the Muslims there. I'm going to be telling them, if you really, my brothers and sisters, want to move from the days of empty ceremony to the days of the modern world where we do everything in the Quran, the Ramadan, the Salat, everything, and become competitive and respected by all. Just let me say this. Can you imagine what the reaction would be if Japan was a totally Muslim country? People would say, I want to be a Muslim. Look at the Japanese coming from nothing. Based on what? Based upon performance, not language. People want to see, if Islam is so great, let me watch you and see how great it is. Let me see how you treat your wife. Do your children respect you? That's Islam. I'm stopping, brother.
Thank you. It's not a question, in fact, but I'd like to make an appointment with you because I'm involved in a number of self-help projects. Especially down at O.P.E.C, we have a number of small industries, these mini factories, people manufacturing paper, gas, a lot of things there. But the problem that we are encountering is where can we get a help, where won't be charged this very high interest, on the money that has been lent to us. Because now when you start something, you got to have time and to grow. But we'll find that with our people here all the time, the interest rate grows up all the time, and the rent of where you're renting grows up, and you find that now you'll end up nowhere. So I would like to make an appointment.
All right, I would be very interested, because this is a major problem, and it requires a business plan.